Hi. My topic is listening habits of musician listeners. The choices they make in what they listen and what they choose not to listen to. We live in a world of very fast, frequent, and sometimes unwelcome access to music. Over a century ago, music was not so much all around us. Concerts were special events. There were no commercially available recordings. And hearing the repertoire that you wanted to hear was a challenge. Over the past 100 years or so, people have been able to collect and create their own libraries. As the technology has evolved, listeners are able to pretty much pick and choose what they want to hear, especially now that we have download services and subscription services. Brain function of the engaged music listener is an active field in neuroscience. It is a study that goes back about 30 years, and many authors are writing fascinating works on the differences between brain response in trained listeners and untrained listeners. Oliver Sacks has written extensively on this, and Daniel Levitin, who has written extensively on this, and also has participated in the excellent DVD The Music Instinct, which we'll see a clip from.
When you talk about humans having a music instinct, where does that come from? We used to think that there was a music center in the brain. We don't think that anymore. There are music centers and they're spread all over the brain.
Where does music come from in the musician, the composer, and the improviser? Does it come purely from listening to music, studying music? Does it come from other places? In the video documentary, The Art of Improvisation, Keith Jarrett is asked about this by the interviewer.
How important are other things than music in influencing the way you think?
More important than music.
Like writing, philosophy.
More important than music.
Really?
Yes. No, one of the biggest fallacies, I think, in art circles and in music circles, maybe, when people talk about it, is that music comes from music. It's like saying babies come from babies. That is not true. It isn't what happens. Music is the result of a process the musician's going through, especially if he's creating it on the spot.
I drew up several questions to ask colleagues who I know actively perform and practice music and perform music for extended periods of time. Question one was, is there ever a time when you listen to music where there's no analytic process that kicks in? My question number two was, do you ever need to not hear music? Are you ever full and need to hear something other than music? And my question three was, when you turn away from music, what kind of things do you listen to? Do you go to sports talk, other kinds of talk radio, news radio, or do you go to silence? As educators, directed listening for our students can help our instrumentalists and our vocalists gain instrumental insight, compositional exposure, basically giving our students a chance to experience music performed and approached at a very high level. For our general music education, these things are also true, even though our students are not going to be practicing instruments as much as our instrumental and vocalists are. But a considerable amount of their life is focused on listening to music. And it's useful for us to be aware how many students are treating that experience. Many of them are giving about 10 to 20, maybe 30 seconds for each song that they listen to. And they describe it as stitching together a soundtrack for the course of their day. If, as educators in the field of music, we want them to listen with greater detail and endurance than that, then we need to promote the directed listening in a way that's engaging for the students and challenging for them. Listening logs are certainly a possibility. Presentation of material and selection, I would say, would be very high on my list in preparing these kinds of lessons for my students. There is no substitute for hearing the true masters of their instruments. It's something that we can share with our knowledge and our experience with our students that they might never get elsewhere. Thank you.